Ladies and gentlemen, I'm finally back doing the Black Clover reviews. So it's been a little bit. After vacation, work, and mostly just laziness, Black Clover reviews are finally back here onto the channel. Not gonna lie as well, I'm a little bit far on the episodes, so this kind of review, or this episode specifically, I'll be covering episodes 66 and 67. Another video, 68, 69, episode 70 just dropped, and of course that will be a single video. And then every single Tuesday or every single week, we'll be covering just episodes one at a time as usual and as per years. So jumping into episode 66 of Black Clover. This is a recap episode, and before I talk about this and before you guys kind of go and skip to the episode 67 review, we are actually hinted towards something important throughout the Black Clover universe to you anime onlys throughout this episode. So let's at least talk about the new stuff in here. The new stuff in this episode of Black Clover, we see Klaus, Mimosa, and Yino at the Golden Dawn's base, basically just recovering what they're talking about, which is the Eye of the Midnight Sun, because we see them as these main villains throughout the series. They've been basically in every single arc after the Clover Destruction arc, which mostly in this episode, the recap talks about the Clover Destruction arc, we talk about the Cave arc, the Underwater Temple arc, and the Forest arc, which we just got completed. And of course, Asta and the Black Bulls got the magic stone from the Queen and to deliver it to the Wizard King. That's more reputation for them and etc. like that. But also a new thing that was announced in this episode, which I'm basically just surprised about, just because we're still on this arc in the manga. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about it due to spoilers and everything like that. But the Wizard King says to Yami in this episode that there's good news and bad news. The good news is that we've recovered, of course, the stones, and we found out, you know, the Eye of the Midnight Sun's main base. But the bad news is that they're planning to attack here soon. The final battle is approaching, and that's an arc specifically that I am very excited for. And it's mostly that we just know that's right behind the manga. Like, the anime is so close to the manga at this point that they have to kind of slow it down here a little bit. So after the tournament arc, which the tournament arc, it's already been, you know, discovered. It's been part of the opening. It's not a spoiler or anything like that. If you watch the opening, you know, every single 12 or 13 episodes they'll do a new opening and a new ending to Black Clover. We visually kind of see what's going to be happening throughout the arc and kind of the story of whatever anime you watch. So the tournament arc, after that, it's basically this main big plot that we're on. So that's my guess, is that they're probably going to stop, wait for the manga to go up a little bit, and then Black Clover will return. Because that was so skeptical of me that we actually got the Kite War arc and the Forest arc, and especially this arc, the tournament arc. I thought it was just going to end on the Forest arc, but we actually got the tournament arc as well. So if they keep going, that's going to be kind of a problem, but that's just my speculation as well. It's either going to stay put or it's going to continue, because the arc I was talking about, it's so very long that they could do episodes on it. But, you know, specifically for manga and anime, usually the manga, it has to kind of go at a certain distance for the anime to catch up, because usually the anime does like I'd say 5 to 6 chapter within each episode, and then they continue it every single week. So I don't know, that's just my perspective, that I think they're going to stop after the tournament arc, and then of course we're going to get caught up here yet again. And basically with episode 66 as well, it's mostly just recapping Asta and of course them defeating Vito and Underwater Temple arc. They defeat Light and the Third Eye and the Cave arc. They defeat, of course, the Diamond Kingdom and the Eye of the Midnight Sun in the Forest arc, also the Forest Queen as well. And that's basically episode 66. I really want to give a rating towards this episode just because it is recap. There is new stuff in here which I could, but since it's just recap, I think it's still important to viewers that are watching the anime that if you're a fan of Black Clover, that this episode specifically, you gotta look at the new stuff in here, because it is going to be important for the show moving forward. And yeah, that was episode 66. So enough of that, let's jump into episode 67, which is the brand new stuff and the new arc that we're going towards in Black Clover. Now we're on episode 67 of Black Clover, and this part of Black Clover, we get introduced into the festival, the Star Festival segment of Black Clover. This is not the main arc that we're going towards of Black Clover. I could best describe it as, you know how there was the Kite War arc and then there was the Forest arc? It's basically kind of that. Like, this is the Kite War arc, and then the tournament arc will be the Forest arc. So we're going to be seeing quite a few episodes of this. And of course, we'll get to the main arc, which is going to be the tournament one. But with the festival run right here, it's quite enjoyable. Like, it's kind of a direct copy from the manga, which I like about it. And the Star Festival, so it's basically how I could describe it. It was at the start of Black Clover, we got introduced into the star points, right? There was 8 magic nights, and within that, you had to collect stars for each mission. So if you pass a mission, you get a star. We all know that the Golden Dawn has always been the #1 magic knight squad throughout everything, and the Black Bulls were always dead last because everyone was like up and positive, they were all good, while the Black Bulls were at negative, but they're not at negative now, they're in the positives. So it's kind of a huge development there, which I always talk about in these reviews. The Black Bulls are always gaining reputation for themselves, and throughout this arc or this segment of Black Clover, those missions are going to be part of this festival. You know, all their missions that they have done throughout the story that we've seen through the Black Bulls, all their missions and glory are going to be part of the festival right here, which is going to be exciting. And who knows what place are the Black Bulls going to be. So they were dead last, so maybe they'll be 1 squad or twice, maybe they'll be in first place. Who knows? That's the big question right there. But it's also a festival of people just enjoy and happiness all around, because we've seen, of course, throughout Black Clover that there's always been destruction and despair, and everyone's not usually always happy. It's always been a competition, but it's kind of everyone to always relax and just have fun. That's the basic point about all of this. Now, within what I told you guys throughout the Underwater Temple arc, is we get introduced into 2 characters. Of course, that was Kohono and Kyoto. And I said to you, anime only, is that eventually we'll see them here yet again. So we see those 2 individuals come back to the Black Clover anime here yet again. Of course, Kohono was the one with the singing magic, while Kyoto was, of course, the dancing magic. And of course, they can't do those anymore just because when they had the battle with Vito, Vito took away Kyoto's leg, and basically Vito just punched Kohono like in the throat. He can't really sing anymore, but thanks to Asta and Noelle. So the Forest arc, you know how the Queen of the Witches has that huge healing ability and was able to heal Asta's arms? They have some of that magic, and they give it to Kyoto and Kohono. So now that they're all covered up here yet again, and Asta, of course, made their dreams come true, because there's also a law to the Underwater Temple that if people lived in the Underwater Temple, they can come up to the surface right here. But it's thanks to Asta and the Black Bulls that they invited them up to here so that they can enjoy the festival. And we all know from, you know, I guess their kind of dreams, you know, Kohoto and Kyono, they want to become stars. They basically want to get filthy rich. That's basically their ideal of, you know, people listening to their music or watching Kyoto dance, that they want to become popular. And now it's their time to shine. We see a little bit of clips of them actually loving life, like here up in the surface, a whole new world to entertain different people instead of being at home, which the people, of course, they know, you know, family and friends and everything like that. For them to, you know, make their dream a success, they got to go up to the surface and perform for the people up there. So that's a cool moment, and of course a really heartfelt moment to this anime, of course, as well, that Asta was able to do that for those 2. But the big thing that we see in this episode, of course, of Black Clover is the Asta / Noelle. This is always a thing in shonen, that you want to get one character to fall in love with another. For example, I can give a good point, which is Naruto. You know, there's the Naruto Sakura, or there's the Naruto Hinata. Black Clover, you could say Asta Noelle, Asta Mimosa. You know, it's that huge thing in shonen. It's always that competition of people in real life that, hey, I want Asta to be with this individual, or I want him to be with this individual. So it's a big thing, you know, in this festival arc, that this is one of the biggest moments of, you know, I guess the shipping, you could say, perhaps, of Asta and Noelle, because this episode literally states that it's a double date episode with Kohono, Kyoto, Asta, and Noelle going around the festival, enjoying stuff, of them going towards like a haunted house, or buying food together, or dancing and singing all around. So you could tell that this is a really big moment for if you're an Asta and Noelle fan. And we see that at the end of this episode, that, you know, Asta really respects of what Noelle is right now, because Noelle's, you know, character at the very start was always talking about royalty and always shunned people down and didn't care about anyone. Now joining the Black Bulls and meeting Asta, she has a whole different perspective about that, saving this little girl Emma, for example. And at the start of Black Clover, we know that there is peasants, and then there's kind of the Clover people, and then the royalty. The Clover people and the royalty, those kind of like the rich people, for example, can enjoy the festival and always look down on the peasants and people like Asta and this little girl Emma, for example. And Noelle finally sees that and realizes that every human being should be the same. Why do people have to be different? We should all respect each other. Who cares if you're royalty or not? And that's a huge development throughout Noelle's character, and that's basically why I feel like a lot of people respect her now. now. You know, I guess you could say the start of, you know, Black Clover, she was an asshole, but now she's a great person that respects anyone and doesn't care what people think about her or towards other people. So huge props to Noelle in this episode. I really love that throughout Black Clover, and they really captured that. And of course the Noelle and Asta segment, I thought that was cool and beautiful. And I guess the funny thing in this episode that I really enjoyed, I don't think it was part of the manga, but they put it in this episode anyway, which when all the Black Bulls scattered and did their own stuff, this little kid goes up to Gordon, is like, hey, what is that mask on your face? But really that's Gordon's face in general. I don't know, that cracked me up. I thought that was the funniest part in Black Clover. You always gotta love the humor, and especially shown in Black Clover. And yeah, that was basically the festival episode. It's gonna continue a little bit more right here. Like I said throughout this review, guys, it's like the Kind War arc, for example. It's gonna be a little bit of a short arc, you know, a couple episodes here or there. I don't know how many they're gonna do. Like I said, I'm gonna catch up and do the reviews here for you guys, and of course we'll get to the main one, which is gonna be the tournament. But I hope you guys all enjoyed. My rating for this episode, guys, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I really respected it. I love the humor. I love the Asta Noelle segment. The festival is always so cool, and it's just different from Black Clover. You know, we always love the fighting and the action and everything, but for it to cool down and just for everyone to be happy, I really enjoy episodes like this in shonen. There you go, everyone. That was my episode 66 and 67 review of Black Clover. It's awesome doing these reviews here again. Of course, I'll bring you guys episodes 68 and 69 here very shortly here on the channel. But hope you guys all enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, comment down below what are your guys' favorite parts between episodes 66 and 67, and subscribe to the channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. But either way, guys, we'll see you in the next review for Black Clover. Hope you guys all have a wonderful day.